Hey y'all, what's up everybody? Hola mi gente, hey beautiful people, okay? Welcome to Live Brunch Sundays. I'm so excited to be in community with you all today. We are going to have just such a treat to have Toni with us today to be in community. Shout out to you all. I see it Matatang already in the building. Shout out to my sister Shamika in the building. Shout out to y'all, honestly, for supporting and always coming through with Live Brunch Sundays, supporting your girl, being in community, right? It's facilitated by me. This conversation is facilitated by me. But this is us. This is ours. This is our space to be in community, to run to ourselves, to remember a space of love. And I'm just so excited to be in community today with Toni and talk about her beautiful published text, powerful text, Wisdom of The Cypher. For those of y'all that love hip hop, for those of y'all that grew up with hip hop, this is a must read, okay? I think that Toni's given us more than a guide for the wisdom of the cipher or what it means to cipher, but for life. And I'm just so excited to be in community with her today. Y'all know I got my tabs ready. And so, we ready for today. We ready to be in conversation. How are you all doing? How is your body? How are you taking care of yourselves? How are you making space and time to breathe deeply, to calm your nervous system, to, as my brother Dr. David Johns says, to guard our joy? How are we doing that? Let me know where y'all coming from. Let me know where I'm sharing space and place with you all today. I'm in rare form today, okay? I got my bun today to the back, and I decided to give y'all like a red but an orangey lip. She's moving out of her comfort zone, okay? She's giving y'all a little moment, okay? She said, Ruby Woo, not today, okay? For me, it's part of my self-care. I went ahead and did my nails, child. I know y'all see it, period, okay? Shout out to my nail tech, Daisy, who slayed down, okay? Can y'all see my bamboo earrings on the nails, period? Because, we got to stay ready. Got to keep our hoops in our back pocket, okay? Because they're also part of our superpower. My sister said face card never declines, period. It's always on unlimited, okay? Always on unlimited, okay? Unlimited spending. Let me know where y'all coming from, how y'all doing, how y'all taking care of yourselves. As I was getting ready to start Live Brunch Sundays today, the other day, I had to revisit my dissertation notebook. And it's just such a beautiful, it was a beautiful space for me of reflection. This is the notebook. I literally used it from front to back to take notes, to reflect, to journal. And the back of my notebook were just like prayers and affirmations that I just would write to myself as I was listening to the word, as I was either listening to my sisters, as I was being counseled and advised, as I was being loved through that process. And I think I'm going to start to embed some of those affirmations, some of those words of love for whoever needs them in this space. And so I think for today, I chose one that was on a page of August of last year. And I was just reminding myself, actually it was September 18th of last year, where I wrote, you have been positioned, period. You have been positioned. And it is an end of an era, okay? End of insecurity, end of imposter delusion, right? Because imposter syndrome is not real. It is a delusion because we have to exist within systems that are harmful, that cause us harm, right? And it is the end of self-loathing. And so I hope that those of y'all that are in this space, right, that this is an end of an era for you, that you shed the things that no longer serve you, right? And that you know that you are positioned and that power flows through you. And so I'm grateful to all of you for supporting me, those of you that supported me throughout my dissertation journal. And I think I want to bring some of that into this space because I know many of you all are going through many different things, transitions. And I want to be a site of reflection in this space. And I see my sister is already it, okay? Shout out to y'all. Let me know where y'all come. Okay, Joannie from New York. I see you, sis. I see you. Hey,
Hey,
how you doing, sis?
I am good.
Well, you look gorgeous.
Thank you. What a day.
Listen, my sis Shamika said my face card doesn't decline, but neither does yours. Okay, I just want to say that. Okay, the face card does not decline, and that is for both of us.
Girl, been on a journey. I've been traveling since midnight last night from South Africa.
Listen,
And
we are so excited to have you. And, you know, when I was talking to Toni about this live, I was just so excited that, you know, I'm in space and place in New York, right? And she is on the motherland. And I just thought that that was such a beautiful thing that I was going to be in the motherland through you, through this virtual space, to have such a beautiful conversation around your powerful book. I mean, you did that. You did that, Toni. Okay, you did that. You really did. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was telling the people before you got on that this is definitely a must read. You know, I did so much reflection through your book, and it's just such a beautiful work of love that you gave to us, and so I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to get started. And, you know, I don't know if you know about my lives, but I do a little bit of love giving, okay? I do a little bit of giving you your flowers while you're here. And so after I do that, then we're going to get into some questions around your powerful offering, your book, Wisdom of the Cypher. So I'm just going to get started. For those of y'all that do not know this incredible soul, Toni Blackman is Black excellence, magic, and genius. Toni Blackman is an artist, lyricist, poet, freestyle MC, rapper, educator, and published author, just to name a few. She is a trailblazer whose work has influenced and impacted hip hop education, theater, and diplomacy across the world. She was the first U.S. hip hop ambassador who served in the Ivory Coast, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ghana, Botswana, and Switzerland, delivering lectures on hip hop music and culture. She also has traveled to Europe as a part of the Jazz at Lincoln Center Rhythm Road, a broad program working to promote restoration, reconciliation, and healing. Toni was the founding director of the Freestyle Union, a cipher workshop using freestyle as a tool to the collective responsibility to service and justice. She also founded the hip hop arts movement, HHAM, one of the first hip hop theater performance ensembles in the United States. And if that's not just to name a few things, she also was the founder of Rhyme Like a Girl, and these innovative projects have garnered recognition and prestigious fellowships as deserved. As an artist, Toni has performed alongside artists of the like Erykah Badu, Mos Def, The Roots, Wu-Tang, and Def Poetry. Her work is grounded in hip hop at the intersections of spirituality, mindfulness, and healing. And her latest powerful text, Wisdom of the Cypher, explores the cipher as an ancestral practice, a sacred space, a site of possibility to, as she writes, let go and let God. The wisdom of the cipher are lessons and affirmations for life, and this book is a must read. Toni Blackman is a hip hop icon and legend whose extraordinary career has transformed hip hop education. Community, please welcome the incomparable, the amazing, the genius, Toni Blackman. Woo!
Thank you. Thank you, FedEx. Yes.
And so I know I've said all the things, okay, or some of the things, y'all. These are not all the things. I'm telling you, these are not all. And so with that, I would love for you to introduce yourself. Who's and who are you, and who are you responsible for?
Ah,
I
I
got you.
believe. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like my purpose here on earth has always been to serve and to be a connector, and also to connect people to each other and to resources and to opportunities, and also to to lead by example and to inspire those around me
Yes.
to live lives at higher vibrations
Yeah.
and to believe. To believe. I am a believer in all things possible, and I believe that when you have people who believe in yourself more than you do around you,
Ooh.
that it not only transforms you, it transforms them as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that right there.
Yes. I love that. And the beautiful part about that is that while reading your book, Wisdom of the Cypher, I felt that through your words. I felt that through the affirmations that you invite us to, and through your beautiful poetry and your writing. I want to
Yeah.
start just by sharing, how much I learned in the book. One, about you, about your contributions to hip hop as a Black
Yeah.
woman, and also the influences that you've had across the work through your work of the cipher.
Yeah.
I want to start
Yes.
on page. We get down to the pages here, Toni.
Yes.
Um, I want to start on page 17, because something that you did so beautifully in your book is that throughout your book, you give us sort of like the universal principles of the cipher, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
just want to talk a little bit about how you define for us, or you trouble for us, or even for me as someone that grew
Yeah.
up hip hop, who thought they knew about the cipher, right? About this
Yes. Yes.
that we all are sort of, we have ideas about. But you
Yeah.
go on to say, the cipher can be the closest thing to a hip hop prayer. It is a
Yes.
meditation of sorts, a place to lay down your burdens and open yourself to the possibility of getting open.
Mm-hmm.
When we gather amongst our own, those who understand the principles of the cipher and know how to harness the energy of this collective experience, we go
Mm-hmm.
beyond rapping, telling stories, or sharing poetry. We share our hearts. When we
Right.
make this kind of connection with others in the circle, our soul gets fed. We get energized and acknowledged. In short, in the cipher, some of our basic needs are met, especially our need to be loved, appreciated, and acknowledged.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
was it important for you to define the cipher, and its purpose, right? And what was the cipher in a nuanced, I think, more abundant way that I ever thought to think about the cipher?
Well, it's funny because I didn't choose to become the cipher lady. It chose me. I tried to avoid it multiple times. I
Come
remember
on.
walking up to a school and the kids were in the window saying, "The cipher lady's here. The cipher lady's here." And so I did my workshop and I went home depressed because
Mm,
I'm like, I don't want to be the cipher lady. Kids chanting the cipher lady. What the
come on.
hell is that, right? And but each time I tried to leave it, it came right back to me, and
Come
I
on.
realized that the cipher is just a part of me. If I have a preference, it's always going to be a communal experience. It's going to be collective work and responsibility. It's going to be creating within this context of circle,
Come on.
and that's how I move in the world. I feel like we create our best stuff. We don't have to literally be in collaboration in literal ways, but when we are sharing energy and space with others, their energy then infuses whatever it is we're up to. And I think too often we want to lock behind a closed door, or we want to hoard the energy, or
Ooh.
we're afraid someone's going to take something from us. And what that does is that minimizes our greatness and it blocks our blessings. And I think that a lot of people would be so much further along on their journey if they understood how significant it is, if they understood the significance of collective work and responsibility. And that not only goes for art, that goes for scholarship and study and research. You know, one scientist doesn't discover the cure. There's usually researchers supporting the scientists, right? So when you try to do it all by yourself, you know, what's that African proverb? If you want to go quickly, go by yourself. But if you really want to get there and go farther, you better be with crew, squatted up, right? And so that was my main motivation. It's the opposite of selfishness and self-centeredness. I do believe in enlightened selfishness when it comes to self-care, but not when it comes to the execution of your mission in life. No person is an island. None of us. And I think that's just been my commitment. That's been who I have been all my life.
Yeah.
I believe I maybe it was cultivated by the community I grew up in, but I believe that's how I came out of the womb, thinking about it in that way.
Yeah, you speak so beautifully about the cipher and the power of a circle.
Mm-hmm.
And you describe in the book how a circle, even as its shape, when we think about the stressors, right, or stress,
Yes.
it is evenly distributed, right? There's like a shared, it's almost as if, you know, I know that you spoke about like this idea of like evenly distributed, but it's almost as if like the stress is dissipated because you know that you have like a holding space in the circle, right? Talk to us a little bit about some of those principles that you talk about with the wisdom of the cypher and the power of the circle, and how we as human beings, as spiritual beings having a human experience, which you also talk about, right, often do really powerful things in circle, which in turn we also do in collective.
Well, you know, that was revealed to me through this process of wanting to become a better freestyler. And I taught this principle yesterday. I was in Johannesburg in South Africa at the African Women's Writers Symposium. And they asked me to do a poetry workshop. The workshop ended up running, starting late. So I decided, as opposed to me getting stressed out, I said, I'm going to do what I do. I hope y'all don't mind. And so there were poets with their pens and paper. And I said, can you put the paper down? Because we won't need that here. And so in that space, it was the lesson of, in the cipher, you build your muscles in the cipher workshop. You let go of your fear of making mistakes. You let go of your fear of humiliation. You let go of your fear of running out of things to say. You don't freestyle or improvise to become the best at that. You do it to become the best at you, harnessing you. That's it. And in the cipher, you can take the risk, because if you run out of things to say, someone else has got your back. Someone else is coming in. If I get started and then I get stumped and then someone else is entering. Someone else is entering. And so the cipher, it's one continuous movement, energy. It's ever flowing forever and ever. It never stops, because it's not all on you. And when you surrender to that fact, it gives you more room to take risk. It gives you more room to walk through the fear and to challenge yourself in ways in which you might not if you were on stage underneath a spotlight. It's different. It's different.
Listen,
and that's why
I will tell you, I didn't lean into that so much, because for those of y'all that don't know, Toni did this for the Hip Hop Ed Conference. And it was such a powerful, beautiful space, right? And Toni was like, okay, so now, we gonna take turns freestyling, okay? And she's like, who want to volunteer? I was like, I'm not. I'm not, but you know what I've been thinking about is I should have, right? Because those are the principles that I think were really powerful as I read. First of all, as I read through this text, I'm like, these are
Yeah.
principles for life. Like
Yes,
some of
yes,
the
yes,
things
yes,
that
yes,
you're
yes.
inviting us to think about around
Yeah.
like this harnessing of ourselves, of
Uh-huh.
letting go of fear, right? Being courageous, right? Are
Mm-hmm.
all things that I'm like, I'm taking the wisdom of the cipher to my life.
Yes.
And the way that I show up as an educator, the way
Yeah.
that I show up as a scholar, the way that I show up as a writer. But I say all that to say that there was so many beautiful
Right.
people that started to freestyle. And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? It was such a beautiful collective space, and what you could mostly feel was that everybody felt like someone had their
Yes.
back. When they was done, somebody picked up, and then somebody
Yes.
picked up, and then somebody picked up. And then
Yeah.
in the end, they said, Toni, you got to wrap us up. And you said, wait a minute, this, y'all are doing this, okay? And then you dragged us all for filth, as through your brilliance.
Well, I just believe like the cipher is that hip hop element, as we the hip hop community, hip hop heads, hip hop scholars, hip hop artists. It's like
Yeah.
when you apply the principles of the cipher,
Come on.
that's the space where hip hop can heal
Ooh.
the world. That's the space where hip hop can build the community. And we write it off sometimes because it's art,
Ooh.
and because we put art on a lower rung on the ladder, in particularly in American society, or we write it off because it's hip hop, because it's this hyper commodified,
Mm.
sometimes hyper
Come on.
sexualized thing in the
Come
mainstream.
on.
And then we allow mainstream to define our culture for us. And then we fall prey to the self judgment, self criticism, and some even walk away from the very thing they
Ooh.
love because of what those few at the so-called top in sales are doing, which has nothing to do with what we're doing on the ground,
Come on.
or what we're doing in classrooms, or what we're doing in the cipher.
Come on.
It's distinct. It's distinctly different.
And I love that you say that, and that's why I know that we are in synergy even through this conversation, because you do a really brilliant job through your book to make
Mm-hmm.
distinctions between the cipher as a site of possibility, but you also make a distinction, like that cipher is not battling, right?
Yes.
The
Yes.
cipher, while there is an art to battling, right, or an emceeing, is not to be confused
Yes.
with cipher, right?
Yes.
um, you talk about that through the work that you founded at Freestyle Union. um, you developed ground rules for the cipher, which I thought was really powerful. Tell us
Mm-hmm.
about why, when you talk about the cipher as a sacred place, when you talk about the cipher as being a site of, taking risk, of possibility. Tell us a little bit about why is it important to have ground rules, because you talk about
Yeah.
as the ground rules being essential to engage in the cipher.
Well, first, let's make sure everybody knows what a cipher is, right?
Come on.
So some folks listening might not know. In hip hop music and culture, the cipher represents 360 degrees. It's about completion of thought, giving and exchanging energy, information, and ideas. The cipher is zero and the sum of all things at the same time. We've been ciphering for centuries. We drum in circles, we eat in circles, we pray in ciphers, we dance in ciphers.
Come on.
This is something that is ancient, right? And so in that space, ground rules, it's like I was like, I would have been an ethnomusicologist if I would have had the courage in undergrad and to go in that lane. I didn't, but I used to cut class to read about Ornette Coleman and the free jazz movement.
Come on.
I would go to the Moreland Spingarn Center at Howard, especially when I was going through my depression, emotional challenges, and I would just consume this history. And I remember Ornette Coleman talking about how the best improvisation occurs when there are a few constraints provided, right? And so you give someone, it's like in a class, you give them a blank page and say, okay, everybody, you've got a writing assignment. I want you to write for 30 minutes. Can you give me 2 to 3 pages and you receive your grade next week? 15 minutes later, most pages will be blank.
Come on.
But if you provide a writing prompt with some instruction, then people have the constraints so that they can generate something. And I think that's the challenge. Sometimes there are ciphers where there are none at all.
Mm.
And the energy then goes whoop, done, whoop, done, whoop, done. Because you have the intentionality is really a thing.
Come on.
And it does make a difference. And so I think the no battling rule came about because battling kills the vibe if you're trying to communicate in community, if you're trying to create collectively. Once you start the battle, it becomes about two. Even if there are 5 others there, 20 others there, the energy is only on these two. Half of the people fall off and they disconnect. The other half are not fully engaged in their own creativity, but in observation mode. In order to keep everybody centered on their own creativity and their own getting themselves open and into the zone, you have to have some sort of consistency, and the battling does not allow for that. And then I also, as a hip hop, who used to be a purist, I'm no longer, but I also felt that battle MCs should earn the right to battle. Like developing MCs should earn the right to battle. And that developing MCs should study the masters of battling. You should go watch a number of battles.
Come on.
You should make note of what those who are masters at the art form and the craft of battling do, so that you can do that too. You should not force an audience to suffer through your growth and development phase. I just don't think it's right. I think it's disrespectful to the craft and to the tradition. Like, get your weight up, build your skills.
Come on.
And it comes back to, I remember Ethelbert Miller. I've been telling this story a lot. Poetry. He was a mentor to many poets, many writers. And he wasn't a big fan of my work with hip hop, but he still, came through with the jams. And I was at a point, I was doing 7 different things. That's always been me. And he says, look, you need to choose one thing for the next 16 to 18 months. And then you do another thing, and then you do another thing. But each period is a window of time where you're working towards mastery.
Come on.
And so that's when I had stopped the hip hop arts movement, the hip hop year, and I said, I want to become a better performer. And one of the things I want to do is freestyle. That's how Freestyle Union was born. I just wanted to learn how to freestyle. And it grew, and I honored the call. I leveled up.
Innovation.
Yes. And so when the high school students started to come and the college students started to come, the white kids with purple hair on skateboards started to come, the young Black professionals, the architects, the postal service men started to come. And we had this nice variety of, I realized this is a community experience.
Yes.
This is serving mankind, not just for hip hop heads. And so in that space, that's why ground rules were necessary. As you get bigger, you can manage 2 or 3 people, 4 or 5 people. Once you go beyond 7 people, constraints have to show up because everybody has their own will and their own way.
Yeah.
Discipline is something you do, not something you give to somebody else, a rule that you have to practice discipline. Think about it. When you want to stop drinking soda, if you had to stop, that for a lot of people is a struggle. Or if you need to eat more fresh vegetables, that discipline is acquired over time, right? Like me, I need to go to bed. And it's so hard for me to go to bed. Like, I'm cussing myself out. I'm still awake. And don't let me have a good day. That's worse. I'm happy dancing. I'm turning off house music at 2 a.m. And so in that, like, I've got a whole night ritual now to force myself to get into bed. And I still haven't met my bedtime yet. But I'm retraining myself how to rest. And that's a big thing. We have to train ourselves. The constraints, the ground rules train others. And the no disrespect of women rule came because there was an elder poet by the name of M. Willie
Yeah.
Ascari who would come all the time and watch, and he would give me unsolicited advice that I didn't ask for. And sometimes he was right. And he says, those little girls over there, they came here to see those little
That's
boys.
right.
And they're flirting and they Google eyes, but they're also watching you. You must be accountable for those little girls, how they think of themselves, see themselves. You must show up in a way. And that's how we said the bitch whole thing is not a discussion.
Yeah.
We don't debate whether it's not valid to call those women that. It's a loaded term. If your mama walked in the door and I called her to be, you would be offended. So let's minimize contradictions.
Yes.
And I thought people would leave. No one left.
No one left.
No one argued because it's common sense. No one argued at all.
Yeah.
And then
And I love
go ahead.
About the ground rules and how you walked us through the ground rules, because you emphasize about the energy and the vibe of the circle, right?
Yes.
And what's
Yes.
powerful about that distinction of the ground rules, right, is that there is a collective responsibility in the cipher, not only to yourself but to other people, but also to others outside of the circle, right? Because you also talk about the circle of the cipher, but then you also talk about those that are also outside of the cipher and how they're all part of it through the energy, right? Through our ability of what we have.
Yeah, the outer circle matters,
Yeah.
right? Every ooh, every ah, every
That was me.
every
I was
laugh.
the circle.
Yes.
At the Hip Hop Ed conference, I was the outer circle.
It's important. It's important. And I think sometimes in Western society, we think about art.
Yeah.
And there's the people on the stage and the people not on the stage.
Mm.
And that also makes it harder for the people on the stage. And so you can see a lot of developing rappers and MCs, they're craving what comes from the cipher. So they'll get on stage because they have not cultivated their own power, and they say, everybody come up, everybody come to the front, everybody come down. They're begging people to come be close to them. Whereas KRS-One walks on the stage and he says, okay, and everybody comes to the stage like roaches. And the lights just turned on.
Not the lights just turned on.
So what's the difference? He knows how to command. He knows how to command through his energy and through the power of his voice. Yeah. And that came from years of being intentional about using and harnessing that power. And if you don't give people the guidelines, or if you don't challenge people to do that, most won't, because it's easier to not do it. Because if you do it, people might talk about you, people might judge you, people might say you think you're all that. And there's an inner conversation that we all have, and people act like only teenage girls have these issues. No, it's a human thing. It's a human thing. Boys have them, every gender has them, adults have them, middle-aged women have them, elders have them.
Come on.
Right? Life is a journey, it is not a destination. And so we're forever learning, forever growing. And sometimes we have to reinforce, reinforce the things we learned at 21. Because life hits you in the gut a few times during your 30s, and now you're in your early 40s trying to clean it up, and you feel like something's missing because something is. Right? You're not present, and you're not pulling that out of you anymore because somebody told you you're not enough and you believe it. Right? I think the cipher creates the space for us to be able to be ourselves and stand in the power of what that means to be true to you, to honor your voice. And those ground rules help us tell authentic stories. Yeah. So the need for aggressive lyrics automatically decreases. So if you're aggressive, it's aggressive with intention, because you're telling a story that requires it, not because you're showing off and seeking acceptance and approval through the aggression.
something that you said, which is also part of the learning that you also journey us through in your book, is that you give us first beautiful poetry. You also invite us to affirmations, but
Yeah.
you did this. You talk about how through someone whose name is escaping me, that you, and I'm sure that you will remember,
Okay.
they expanded your view on affirmations. And as a Cancer, as someone with a watery heart connected to their humanity,
Yeah, yeah.
I believe leading love language is words of affirmation. That's why I speak life into others. If I see
Yes.
life,
Yes.
life. If I love you, I'm going to tell you. If I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you, I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to show you right through my words. But something powerful that you also made the distinction is that you talk about how affirmations must be in alignment to our belief systems, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you made an example right now, even with KRS-One, and with the other person that's sort of like craving the validation or wanting that, right?
Right.
Um, and sort of this idea that affirmations are worthless if they are disconnected from what we
Yeah.
believe. And
Yeah.
thought that was really important because while I love affirmations, I live for affirmations. I need to do more work around my belief systems with affirmation. And a
Mm-hmm.
really powerful one that you gave us, and it's all throughout the book, y'all. Like, really, this book, it invites us to think deeper about ourselves, think deeper about our work. Through the wisdom of the cypher. You say, this is an affirmation. I look inward. I let go of the need for outside validation. I focus on strengthening the areas I need to improve. By focusing on the present and myself, I learn ways to be at ease, create clarity in my life, and sharpen my skills. I am dedicated to my training. I am committed to mastery of self, my thoughts, my actions, and my energy, right? These are also parts of the lessons or the wisdom of the cipher. Why did you, I know that this was intentional, invite us through many of the affirmations that you did in your text?
I, I think for me, like Takia was talking about, it was Coach Takia from
That's
a
right.
group I'm in. She was talking about how too often we use affirmations without shifting our energy, and without paying attention to, if you have the right energy, you're just wasting your breath and your time, right? And she doesn't really believe in affirmations because most people who use them, they're hoping, wishing, and praying these affirmations create change, but they're not doing the work in terms of, or they're not surrendering in terms of their energy, or surrendering to the very change that they want to have. And without that, there's resistance. And so, why do affirmations? And for me, I like affirmations because sometimes I'm hard headed, and through the repetition of a concept or thought, it starts to stick, right? So I understand, the manifestation of what it is I want through affirmations could take time.
That's right.
But the affirmations also become, for me, it becomes like a prayer, right? And that prayer brings me peace. Whether or not my circumstances are shifting in this moment or tomorrow or next week, that it becomes like a prayer, and it gives me peace. And also, there are some of us who have minds that overwork.
Ooh,
And,
ooh, wait.
and I think I've never been, and I say this, so I use this crack analogy, how sometimes making change is like getting off crack. I've never done crack, so I don't know what. But it's a better word than heroin. So it's like is getting rid of an addiction, and we can be
Ooh,
addicted to patterns of thought and behavior. So they will take time. So we have to reprogram. And I think the affirmations help us to do that. And they also create a sense of direction. Where are we going? Because it's so easy to forget where
ooh.
we're trying to go. But the affirmations help. And I don't know. I believe in them, and that's a space where I agree with her and I understand what she's saying to an
Yeah.
extent. And she's right.
Yeah.
But I also believe words have power.
Yes, you talk about that. You talk about words having power.
Yeah.
I love this idea that you look at affirmations as a navigation tool, right? As
Mm-hmm.
a sort of how to get to, right, this thing or this belief or this mantra, right? An
Mm-hmm.
affirmation as a prayer that gives peace. Oh,
Yes.
we
Yes.
you
Yes.
you
Yes.
just giving us everything. I need to sit with that, like affirmation as a prayer that give us peace, and that we must continue to do the work, right?
Right.
And bring and the energy needs to match the affirmation.
Yes. Yes.
Where we are going, right? Because if we're going somewhere, we got to move.
Yes.
It's
Yes. Yes. Yes.
essentially.
Yes.
I,
Yes.
all of the lessons that the wisdom of the cipher, you talk about self-awareness, you talk about
Mm-hmm.
open, releasing fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having a learner stance. I'm not gonna give them all to y'all because y'all need to buy the book, and y'all know how I tell y'all need to buy 3. I always say you need to buy 3, okay? One for the notes, one for the tabs, because you're gonna mess this thing up with all your highlights and all the things, okay? Then you're gonna buy one for the shelf. You're gonna buy one to put it on the shelf, okay? And then the third one is so that you can give to somebody else. So
Right.
buy
Right.
in
Right. Right.
3.
Right.
I'm
Right.
not going to tell you all of the lessons of the wisdom of the cipher,
Mm-hmm.
but I do want to ask you, Toni, out of all the lessons that and how you walk us through the cipher, right? And sort of like the work that is required to
Right.
cipher or
Right.
decipher. Which one do you believe? And I know this is going to be tough because I was trying to think about it myself.
Yeah.
Um, is the most important for the cipher? Like out of all of them, like you cannot engage in cipher work unless this is the one that is essential and most important.
Um, I think I don't know, because I think about how important it is to
Yeah.
listen. Because
Yeah.
people think about expression and they forget that listening is an important part of it. And then I think there's also like not diminishing your light. I think the high creatives with high levels of intelligence tend to be like they're true greats, right? Tend to be most of the time too modest, right? And then also sometimes are not willing to take up space. They don't want to take up too much space, right? And I think the cipher is about sharing space
Mm-hmm.
and sharing your light. And then there are times if you are getting open and you are absolutely in the zone and you are channeling something, someone, or some energy and it's coming through you, then that's the time when everybody else sits back to participate in your magic, right? Because that moment for you that inspires someone else to do what they need to do to experience that for themselves. And it can be challenging, when you get there and then you're like, oh, what am I doing too much? And you start overthinking.
Ooh,
Or like I remember in the in my early years, if the crowd reacted, if people reacted, it would throw me off. Like if I was functioning in levels of greatness, I would then stop myself,
wow.
right? And I think that like honoring your light does not mean showing off. It doesn't mean hogging the floor. It means giving yourself permission to take up space when God is present, when God is
Ooh.
in your eyes, when God is coming out of your mouth. Honor that and let it be. Someone might need to hear what you're saying or to feel the energy you're giving. It's so, so important. And this is where I think sometimes, because we think about hip hop as what we see on TV and hear on the radio. And this is where we mistake. And I know hip hop heads who were grown, Gen X millennials who do it too often. They say hip hop, but they're not really thinking about our conversation. They're only thinking about, the sexy rapper of the day.
Come on.
And
Come on.
they're complaining.
Yes.
They're complaining, which is why I really do believe we have to commit to doing the work necessary to not get stuck in the negativity. And whenever you feel that negative emotion, go do something positive, like share the music of someone you love or someone you admire. Share a song that inspired you. Share an essay by a hip hop scholar that made you think twice. Share a poem by a poet that forces people to rethink their attitudes, their perspectives. Like, share something and put that energy out in the universe instead of sitting back complaining as if you're powerless. You are not powerless. You're not.
Ooh.
None of us are. And we have to stand in that. And even if it looks like the circumstances around us are just like, oh, there's no change, this old rap crap, hip hop is over, hip hop is dead. It is not.
Come on.
It's not. There's everywhere in the corner of the earth, hip hop is living and breathing and happening and rebirthing itself. Every country I've ever been to. And so how do we celebrate and honor that? And also, I believe, Yari, Cypher should be like sing-alongs used to be back in the day.
Ooh, wee.
The 50s, 40s, 50s, when parties, birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, people would gather around the piano.
Come on.
And sing songs. I believe you should be able to put a beat on and the whole family and all your friends, your whole frat, your whole book club should be able to have a cipher.
Come on.
Just because it makes you feel good, because it makes you more connected. And why do we resist our creative expression? As if because you're not getting paid, hundreds of dollars to do a thing, it's no longer relevant. This is not why we create. Creation gives us life. It's creation, for God's sake, right? And it's not silly. It's not corny. It's not immature. It's spiritual. And we must honor it. And I just think the world would be a much better place. And we would be much happier if we honored that pull and that push, as opposed to sitting around saying you miss it, or you miss the 90s, or you miss the early 2000s. That's past. It's gone. It's not coming back. But guess what? You are fortunate enough to still be here.
Come on.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Ooh. Wee. Toni, you said it is important for us to shine our light and give ourselves permission to take up space when God is present.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. Yes.
Ooh, we
Yes.
going that made me emotional. Right? Like the question you are asking us, why do we resist our creative expression when creation gives us life? This is spiritual work.
Yes.
And this is really the sentiment of your book. I felt spirit when I read your book. I felt your energy through your pages. I felt your love. I felt your responsibility, right, to us, to me. It felt so powerful. I saw a bit of me, but I saw possibility.
Yeah.
I want to read one of your poems before, because I know you booked and busy. Before we get to
we over here in prayers.
before we get to wrapping up, but you say, bury the fear, bury the doubt, put it 6 feet under, forget the mistakes from your younger days. We in a new phase, life ain't gotta be a maze. Keep it simple, my people. Let your heart be your staple. Seek ye within first. May need a little practice, might have to rehearse. Be still, being able to feel from the core of your being, which gets us much closer to believing, with our faith increasing as we pray without ceasing, giving life new meaning. We hear, no need for live streaming, and eyes wide open is how we be dreaming. Believe.
Believe.
And with that,
Yes.
I am a person that when we gather next month with family, right, I'm going to say, let's do a cipher.
Yeah.
And these are the ground rules that we must follow. But the important one is that we give ourselves permission to take up space when God is present. Um,
Yes.
Out of all the things that you invited us to think about, Toni, out of all of the um, beautiful messages that you give us through this text, you talk about your work as being at the intersections of spirituality and healing.
Yeah.
You also talk a lot about like meditation in this book and stillness. And you connect that deeply with hip hop and the wisdom
Mm-hmm.
of the cipher. Talk to us a little bit about how those intersect with the cipher, with your work. And out of all the things that you wrote to us in the book, what is the message that you want the wisdom of the cipher to carry?
Mm. Okay, that's a big question. Okay, say the first part again.
So you talk to us about like the
Yes.
intersections of hip hop, right? But out of all the things that you talk, spirituality,
Okay.
meditation, healing, right? How does the wisdom of the cipher, this text, what would you want to be like the
Okay.
message for the readers, for us, the learners?
Okay. I think out of all the things, I think it's what we're talking about, what we were just talking about, honor your creativity.
Yeah.
Like it's Mickey Hyman, my former entertainment attorney, is the publisher. His a publishing company, and he says, "Look, Toni, I'm an 85-year-old Buddhist Jewish man who hasn't listened to a hip hop song since 1985, and I love the book." And he
Come on.
says, "This is not a hip hop book, and it's something deeper, something bigger." And it
Yes.
made me think about Dead Prez song is bigger than hip hop. Like, so Dead Prez was singing a rap song, a song that rocks crowds all over the world as soon as the beat drops. And the hook is bigger than hip hop, but they're hip hopping, and
Come on.
they're telling them, stick in what they're telling them. And I feel like that's what's happening. What I wanted to happen with this book is that universal spiritual principles that I've gleaned from 25 plus years of organizing hip hop platforms.
Come on.
That's what the book is.
Yes.
And it's stuff that applies to life and to our own personal growth and development. I'm a big believer and a big advocate in inner work, in self development, in making that a constant in our lives to improve our relationship with ourselves, our relationships with others, and so that we can fulfill whatever our mission is while we're on the earthly plane.
Yeah.
Knock it out in this lifetime, get complete, do the thing, go for it,
Come on.
make it happen, or surrender to it happening, because sometimes we don't have to do anything but show up. And then the question is, are you showing up, and how are you showing up? And
Yeah.
so that's what I will want people to do. Show up,
Show
show
up.
up, and do the inner work
Hmm.
so you can be a better person on a base level, just so you could be a better human being. And I think that's what the Cypher did for a lot of the artists in the Freestyle Union. Everybody grew, everybody involved. We had MCs who had never thought of teaching. And
Come on.
to be a teacher, to be a professor, is to be a servant in the most powerful and impactful ways, right? And several went on to be teaching artists in some way in their lives, right? Because it matters when you're teaching. It's a gift. It's gift giving,
Yes.
right? You're giving somebody a gift where the ROI you may never see it.
Hmm.
That's why it's service. Like your fifth grade teacher could be the reason you are Dr. Yari, right?
Ooh,
And it's that space. Like my fifth grade teacher, Mr. Brown, is the reason why I ended up being a scholarship competitor on the speech team, and that paid my tuition for college at Howard University. He
wow.
had no idea that's what he was doing. That
Wow.
saved thousands of dollars. I never had student loans because of my fifth grade teacher.
Come on.
That's the seeds he planted, the challenges he gave me. And so I think that's a space where we have to show up as our best selves. Whatever that is for the moment, not as perfection. You can be flawed, you can still be short-tempered, you can still be impatient, and you could be, maybe you don't judge out loud, but you see in your head you judging everybody.
Well,
That does not mean you can't impact other people's
come
lives for
on.
their, destinies. Like you could be out here shaping destinies.
Ooh,
And that's the real work. That's the real work of the Most High.
yes.
Impacting lives. And like, what did Maya Angelou say? That's your legacy. How many lives did you
Ooh.
change? That's your true legacy. Yeah, and that's what I want people to take from it the most.
Yeah, well, I appreciate, because this life has definitely been changed and shifted by your words, by your art, by your poetry, and
Yes.
by the affirmations that you invite us to think about. I'm using them to think about my own collective responsibility as
Yeah.
an educator, as a mother, as a,
Mhm.
um, as a community
Right.
member, as a daughter, as all of these things, right? And I think that
Right.
that's the beauty of the wisdom in the cipher, is that it is bigger than hip hop, right? That
Right. Right. Right.
is is a trend. You talk about transcendent too, when you talk about the cipher. And so I just want to say thank you, for all that you gave, all that you shared. I knew that you was that girl, but after reading the Whisper, I really knew that you was that girl. Okay.
Yes.
Knowing and knowledge is important, right? To know what folks have contributed to the world, right?
Yes. Yes.
We are grateful for what you continue to contribute to the world through ciphering, right? As not wanting to be the cipher lady, but
Right.
knowing that our callings are always bigger than we think. And also shout out to Mrs. Sarabia in 7th grade, who saw my wings before I did, okay, and who challenged me. And there was a method to his madness, sometimes more madness to his methods. But I really appreciated the way that he saw me and the way that he spoke life into me, which changed
Right.
the trajectory of
Yeah.
my school experience. So shout out to the teachers that show up for us.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
so
Right. Right.
the last question that I always have with the folks that are in community with us. First of all, Toni Blackman is going to be at Teachers College, okay,
Yes. Yes.
November 4th. All
Yes.
right.
Yes.
And we need the people to come through and show out and buy the book and show love. Because y'all going to buy the 3 books, but sometimes we also have to show up with our time. Okay. We got to show up
Yeah.
with this. Okay. So
Yes.
we are
Yes.
in New York,
Yeah.
November 4th. We have to support my sis. I will
We have
be
a book
there.
party.
Okay. We're going to have a party. And if there's a cipher going on that day, I promise that I will be a part of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Now.
I'm not going to let Dia stop me this time. So if
Yeah.
Toni does any ciphering with us on the 4th,
Yes. Yes.
your girl will be on the 1s and 2s. You, I'm going to try my best, okay, to think
Right.
on my
Right.
feet.
Right.
But the
Right. Right.
last question that I have for you is, Live Brunch Sundays is a space of love, right? Where we are able to highlight the beautiful contributions of Black folks, particularly Black women. It is a
Yeah.
space where, we hold, shout out to my North Star Bell Hooks, right? Where we're really committed to ours and each other's spiritual growth. And so the last question that I always ask the folks that are in community with me is, how do we love ourselves and each other better to do this work, right? To show up. Um, what would you say, Toni?
Ooh. How do we love ourselves better to
And
do
each other.
this work and each other? Well,
Yes.
I think to love ourselves is something I've been talking about a lot lately. As friends are passing at a rapid rate, artists are dying. 6 weeks, every week there was someone else who passed away, and it felt really weird. Like, are you serious?
Wow.
So taking care of ourselves. I mean, it starts with that enlightened selfishness that is required for you to change the way maybe you've done things for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, to do different and to not rationalize it with, well, my grandmama ate this. She lived to be 91. My granddaddy smoked cigarettes. He died and he was 89. Like, it doesn't matter. That was a different time, a different day and age. They went to bed when the sun went down. You know what I mean? They didn't have social media. They didn't have, the TV went off at like 11 p.m., 10 p.m. Like, there were a whole lot of different factors why they were able to sustain themselves doing what they did. So your journey is not comparable to theirs in that way. So being honest with yourself and not rationalizing your addictions, whether your addiction be to alcohol or to weed or to cigarettes or to sugar and cookies and cakes. And if you can't walk by Dunkin' Donuts without stopping in, you got a problem.
Shamika,
You got a problem.
Dr. Shamika said, but I need a little something sweet because that's part of our toxic trait, okay? And we are also connecting the way that sugar is also connected to the insurmountable stress levels, right? And when cortisol is exacerbated, right? Sugar is a way that we can have a false sense of dopamine in our bodies. And Dr. Shamika and I have really been trying to explore some of the ways toxic things like too much of sugar is, in the moment is gratifying, but the long-term effects of it is not good for us.
It's damaging. And then how do we tend to the garden of connection, right? That connection that's within us and between us, so that something beautiful can grow from that. How do we deal with that? Like, it's not an indulgence to take care of yourself. It's not an indulgence to take 20 minutes to drink your tea. It's 20 minutes to sit down and eat your lunch, to close your door for 30 minutes and be present to your food, to respect your food. There's so many things in American society we have to work out, man. And the last time you sat and you just ate a meal with your loved ones or your friends, just because.
Come on.
Not a birthday, not a funeral, just because connection matters and it sustains us. There's research now that talks about why women are healthier. Part of it is women focus and cultivate that connection with their friendship circles, right? So love and action. Love and action is just that. And I think those are the things that self-care that we need to do. Being, change requires change. That's something big I've been writing about a lot lately. You want to change in your life, but you don't want to change. Change requires change. What are you willing to let go of? What are you willing to confront? What are you willing to look at closely with a magnifying glass? And how do we ground ourselves? How do we ground ourselves in looking at those things? So that might mean you need a therapist. It might mean you need an energy healer. It might mean you need a month of do nothing, which I know in American culture, people are like, I can't do that. I can't afford that. Meanwhile, 3 years later, your body does it to you, but it's in a hospital. Right? So how do we do that? How do we do that? When the doctor warns you about this thing happens and tells you, well, let's wait and see. No, you don't wait and see. You don't wait and see. You go to a Chinese medicine doctor and you start the work now. You go to a nutritional or healer or you Google what kind of fast would help me improve my condition. And you start now. And if it is the end for you, then that's divine order. But no medical doctor tells you when that timing is. It's your body. It's your health. We must be able to grow. And so many people, educated people, fall prey to just settling in on mediocrity when it comes to their well-being. What is that? that thing is, I just, and that's something I want to be able to talk about. So I've just been practicing so that I can be in a better space and being in practice of what I want to preach and what I want to see and what I think we should be doing in our lives and in our world. And so I've just been, so I told you, girl, I'm working on the sleep piece. You can see I'm a little
Yes.
tired over
Well,
here.
listen.
I've been on the road.
Well, I
Look,
hope.
luggage got lost. My suitcase got lost on its way back. I'm praying it shows up because my book party outfit is in the suitcase.
I know that's right. We need the book party outfit, okay? We cannot have my stressed out about a book because you know us. We are thinking about our outfits, okay?
Right. I'm like, where's my suitcase? So I'm praying it shows up tomorrow.
It
I'm
will.
praying, and I'm about to give hell to a Sky Airlines if it does not.
Yes, you'll find it, sis. It's
Yeah.
there tomorrow. And we gonna pray that it finds its way. And if not, you gonna slay regardless. You gonna slay regardless.
Yes.
Because God, Dr. Shamika says, never declines. You
Right.
are always
All
glowing,
right.
okay? And you are
Okay.
your energy and your spirit. You can see it. It is beyond just
Girl,
our.
I'm so inspired. I'm so inspired. I had a life threatening concern. I did the work for 2 months and shifted that, and then just coincidentally ended up going on tour in China and Hong Kong, where I had access to an authentic Chinese medicine doctor. Like, God is at work. God is at work, and so all of these things, and so now I'm standing in. Okay, how do I honor like the grace that I've been given? You
Ooh.
know, how do I keep that going? So I'm in Ghana. And
Yes.
this week my goal is to soak up the sun, to soak up the love, um, to get with folk, to honor there's a couple of lunch requests to make time,
Yes.
which I haven't done in years. I'm not the queen of making time for lunch. Go. And so can I do that? And then honor my dreams and my purpose.
Ooh.
There's so much alignment with the work and returning to the work. My original work with Freestyle Union, I had a vision, but now it's supposed to be on a different level in the entertainment side internationally. And
Yeah.
so the thought of that feels scary, talking to investors and making pitches and oh my God. But the new space is wait, there's someone who's good at this, someone who's good at that.
That's
What's
right.
the team? What's that look like? Let's get ready. And so, I have a call at night, like my new business partner, right? Being willing to go all the way in, go global, because I've been global. Like, what am
You've
I
been
doing here?
global.
Playing small. Playing
You've
small.
been.
Playing small, girl. Being polite.
As you
Uh-uh.
say, you have to give yourself permission to
Yes.
take up space where God is present.
Yes.
And
I
we are
told you I'm practicing.
we're gonna use the wisdom of the cipher. Okay. Have the folks around us, okay,
Yes.
knowing that we have a soft landing with the
Yes.
people that see, that love, and that also honor us. And I love this question, like, how do I honor the grace that I've been given? Because that holds us accountable not only to
Yes.
ourselves, but to the collective responsibility. And we are so grateful that you pivoted,
Thank
that you
you.
shifted, and that you are here, and we want you well. And so, your bags will be there tomorrow, and if they're not, don't you worry, because you're gonna slay regardless. And I'm so
Thank
excited
you.
to see you and celebrate you on the 4th. You deserve, and
Yeah, it's
thank you
from
for your beautiful
yeah.
work. Y'all,
Thank
y'all
you.
need to get,
All right, y'all.
I love you, sis.
I love
Thank
you
you
too.
so much for making time. And
Yes.
you are guided, covered, and protected. And I'm sending you some rest vibes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna take you
Y'all
down.
get
It's
the wisdom of the
8 p.m.
cipher.
here.
Yes. I love y'all. Thank y'all for being
All
with
right.
us. I know you have
Thank
to
you for
some paper
having me.
notes. Oh, it's an honor.
Yes.
It's an honor. You are an icon. You are a legend. You are
Aw.
okay.
Yes.
It is
Okay.
so beautiful to share space with you, sis.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Thank you.
So thank you. I love you. Peace,
Okay.
y'all. Besitos,
Peace.
everybody.
Bye
See y'all on the floor.
bye.
Okay, y'all better
Okay.
come through for Toni. Bye, everybody.